So some people might remember that I mentioned that I was going to be doing more videos in defense of modern Satanism and the Romantics' interpretation of Satan as the anti-hero. Now, part of that was going to be to examine the ancient Canaanite religion. Now, this is not going to be an exhaustive examination of the ancient Canaanite religions. But what it will be is it will be a discussion of what's called Baal worship. And Baal simply kind of means God. It's like Allah or Yud-Ha-Vev-Hach. But Yud-Ha-Vev-Hach has a deeper meaning. And I'll get into what Yud-Ha-Vev-Hach means. So Baal worship simply means worship of the sky god, the Lord. There are different Baals in different Canaanite regions. And both the God of the Bible and Baal are both Baal. It's just the God of the Bible was changed to be the Abrahamic God, Yud-Ha-Vev-Hach, and there's other gods, names of God, such as the Elohim. So there's different names of God in the Hebrew Bible. Now, what you need to understand, though, is the Hebrew Bible, the Israelite religion, and I'm not defaming the Israelite religion. I think that's why my last video that I made about this was dicey and YouTube didn't like it very much. They did put it back up, but then I took it down preemptively. The reason why I think was because they thought I was defaming the Israelite religion. I wasn't defaming the Israelite religion. The Israelite religion evolved from, I guess that's a better way of saying it than came from, the ancient Canaanite religions and borrowed from other religions in the area like the ancient Egyptians. Now, Satanism, modern Satanism, LaVeyan Satanism, does borrow certain dark, what LaVey would call the dark undercurrent of different religions. Of these, the primary ones are the Yazidi culture. There's a couple. There's the Canaanite religions, which it should not be a surprise, being that Anton LaVey himself was of Jewish extraction. And then there is the Yazidis, which actually do worship the devil. They are a group of people that worship the devil, and if you read the satanic rituals, they're the what are they called? Oh my gosh. Most of them, unfortunately, have converted to Islam or Christianity. I'm trying to think of the name of the people. Kurds. A lot of them are the Kurdish people. And unfortunately, many of them have in Syria, Turkey, Iraq, Iran, I believe, has a bunch of Kurds. These are the people that originally were the Yazidis. And a lot of the Yazidis are dying out, and a lot of them, like many people in the world, like the Kalash, they're converting to the religion of their oppressors, whether that religion be Christianity or whether that religion be Islam or in some cases Buddhism, but not with the Yazidis. But the thing is, there is almost an extinction of the devil worship religion of the Yazidis. But the devil worship of the Yazidis is different than, say, it predates the modern concept of Satanism and goes more toward the concept of Satan, not Satan, but the devil. Malektos is the name of the devil in Yazidi culture, and he's envisioned as a gigantic peacock. And as such, he is a popular deity of the pit, as LaVey calls them, in the Satanic Bible. And people might be going, well, what are these gods of the pit? Well, these gods of the pit, you can look at them in a couple different ways and still be satanically correct, cosmologically speaking. You can look at them as dark aspects of nature and dark aspects of the human psyche. Either way, in some ways, I think I would say they're both. Okay, I would say that they're both. I would say that they are dark aspects of of nature that have been transformed through the psyche into deities. But they're not real deities. They're dark forces of nature. And this is why people like Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, who was a lieutenant colonel in the the United States Army and was the head of our psychiatric warfare department, when he created the Temple of Set, he went back to an Egyptian cosmology, and he referred to these things as the Nataru, which is their Egyptian name, which simply are the gods of ancient Egypt, which are nature spirits. But there is a subjective reality, which everybody has, which is up here, and is, you know, the psyche. And then there is the objective universe. And these are not necessarily two separate things. Now, I'm not a big believer in magic per se. I think the most magical thing you can do is to see things the way that they are, to unite your psyche as close as possible to objective reality. I've said this in past videos. Many people, I don't think, understand that. But, and I think that's the goal of white magic, actually, is to, I believe objective reality is God. I believe nature is God, and I believe nature is understood through objective reality, and I believe that's the purpose of white magic, which is what I practice. It's magic to unify oneself with God, and that God is nature, that God is objective reality. But getting back to this concept of the subjective mind, the subjective universe, and the objective universe, that which is all around us. The deity or deities take place in both. Now, Baal is one god, although it could be any god, because that's what Baal means. But the name Yud-Haviv-Hach, or sometimes called the Tetragrammaton, because in the Jewish faith it is believed that if you say the name of God out loud, Yod-Haviv-Hach, it will deconstruct creation, which clearly it doesn't. Yod-Haviv-Ha, 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 Yod-Haviv-Ha. Creation is still here, Yod-Haviv-Ha. But the Yud, the Chach, the Vev, and the Chach are the four elements. I forget which are which at the top of my right now. I know Yud is fire, but each one of the four letters, Yud, Hav, Viv, Hav, or Yud, Ha, Viv, Ha, they're all an element. Okay, so what is God in the understanding of the Kabbalah, or in the understanding of a magician, or in the understanding of a Satanist, or in the understanding of something of that nature, is God is reality. God is the manifestation of the four elements made whole, made one. That is God. That is what God is. Whether you ask a Kabbalist, whether you ask a true Satanist, or whether you ask whoever you're asking that actually practices magic, if they truly believe in the God of magic is reality. It is reality made flesh. It is reality itself. And that's where a lot of people lose track, because they're chasing these dark secrets and all this other stuff. What they're not chasing is they're not chasing reality. And when Anton LaVey created Satanism and infused into Satanism these concepts of these ancient satanic, what are called proto-satanic cultures, he also has the Slavic culture is featured prominently. The people that have not read the satanic rituals, really, if you want to learn about Satanism, number one, I would recommend reading Anton LaVey's books, The Devil's Notebook and Satan Speaks, first and foremost. But beyond that, I would definitely recommend reading the Satanic Bible, the Satanic Rituals, and the Satanic Witch. These three books, the Satanic Bible, the Satanic Rituals, and the Satanic Witch, are instrumental in understanding the concepts of modern Satanism. Now, the Satanic Bible is more of the philosophical approach of Satanism for the Satanist, but you don't lose that in the Satanic Rituals. The Satanic Rituals, there's a lot of philosophy about cosmology, about the balance of polarities, masculine and feminine, about aesthetics, a lot of things. And the same is true for the Satanic Witch. The Satanic Witch takes the use of lesser magic, which is mentioned in the Satanic Bible, and it's focused entirely on lesser magic, how to use wile and guile. Now, true, the Satanic Witch was written for women and not men, but it's still worth reading to understand these philosophies, these satanic philosophies. And of course you should, if you want to understand where Satanism comes from, which will get you to stop being a Satanist, or at least it did in my case, you'll want to read the works of Ayn Rand, the works of Ragnar Redbeard, the works of Friedrich Nietzsche. You'll want to read various philosophers that are known to have, in Niccolo Machiavelli, Sun Tzu. You want to read these various philosophers that are known to have influenced Anton Cantor LaVey. Aleister Crowley did not influence LaVey as much as people think he did, but I'm OG with that. I do prefer to. I think that there's a lot in Aleister Crowley's religion that is overlooked, but if you actually understand Crowley's religion, if you understand Thelema, and simultaneously understand Satanism, you will see that Crowley's religion of Thelema and LaVey's religion of Satanism are completely different things. One of the reasons is Thelema is not dedicated at all to Satan. In fact, Crowley, or Crowley, as people like to say sometimes, because they'll like to correct my English, but Crowley is actually he was never a Satanist, ever. He was the Great White Brotherhood. He considered to be the end-all, be-all, the AA, Argentum Astarum, or the Order of the Silver Star. And the thing is that he considered the reverse of that to be the Black Brotherhood, which would in some ways be Satanism. And Crowley believed that Satan was an imaginary. God was real, but Satan was imaginary, and that Satan was created by the Black Brotherhood. The devil was, well, not Satan, the devil. And I wanted to get into briefly in this one the differences between Satan in the Jewish tradition, which is where Satan comes from, and the Christian and Islamic tradition. See, the thing is, in the Jewish tradition, Satan is not evil. And this shocks everybody. Why is this? Because in the Jewish tradition, there is no devil. There's no devil. And there's no afterlife either. There is simply Sheol, where it's similar to Hades, the Greek Hades, but there's no Elysian fields. So what death is in the Jewish faith is you're removed from the light of God, or I should rephrase that, you return to the light of God. That's the Jewish belief. There's no afterlife in Judaism. Some have cooked one up recently to compete with Christianity, but ultimately, and that's a similarity between Satanism and Judaism. Another one is the Friday Sabbath is both in Satanism and Judaism. And where I was going with this was the difference is, if you look at Satan, for example, the story of Job, what was Satan's job in the Old Testament? Was he evil? No. His job was to cause people to sin, so that God could punish them for being sinners, for turning away from the light of God. Was he evil in the New Testament for testing Jesus? No. That's his job. So Satan remained an angel in the Old Testament. It's only in the New Testament that Satan falls from the glory of God, yada, 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 yada. That's not, in the true Old Testament, the snake in Eden is a snake. It's not the devil, it's a serpent. It's not Satan or Shaitan. The source of evil in the Old Testament, in the Torah, and well, actually in pre-Jewish Hebrew mythology, is Adam's first wife, Lilith, who is also mentioned in Islam as Lilith. Now, this is actually a way to demonize women. what was her sin in the Garden of Eden? She wanted to have sexual intercourse in the female superior position, meaning she wanted to be on top, and refused to submit to Adam. So God made Adam a second wife. I believe she had a son with Adam named Seth, and I believe Seth is actually a popular figure in Satanism, if I remember correctly. I know Samael is another one of their children, I believe, because I remember the Baphomet, the classical Baphomet, instead of having the Hebrew characters for Leviathan around the outside, it had Samael and Lilith prior, and that was removed by LaVey when he created the modern Baphomet, and then he put Leviathan around the outside in the 5 points. But my point is what you see in the old Jewish tradition is that the principal source of evil is not the angel Shaitan. It's not Shaitan. It's a woman. It's the first woman, Lilith, who is punished by being cast out of the Garden of Eden and turned into a vampiric monster. And there's all sorts of stories about how you have to have sex through a sheet if you see one another, and anybody that's Jewish can back me up on this craziness. There's all these weird sexual practices that the Jewish people practice to avoid having a child of Lilith, or an evil child, if you will. And I'm not making this up. I'll look for it and put it in the description if I can find it. But the whole thing was, this was all created to demonize women. And then recently, you see a lot of women a lot of feminists embracing the character of Lilith as the first feminist. Now, mind you, she's a mythological feminist. She never really existed unless you really believe in the Garden of Eden and all that stuff. But the thing is that it gives you an insight into the differences between Satanism. For example, why is the goat so symbolic of Satanism? Well, if you read the Satanic Bible, Anton LaVey explains that. There are two goats without blemish. That one was to be sacrificed by the Israelites, and the other was the scapegoat, who was beaten and cast into the desert. The Satanist is the scapegoat. That's the whole purpose of the Satanist is the other. The Satanist is counter to society. If you listen to Patti Smith's song, Rock and Roll, it tells you the idea of what a Satanist really is. A Satanist is outside of society. They do not conform to the laws of society. They do not conform to the laws of man. They conform to the laws of God, technically, but the laws of God are the laws of nature. And that's the difference between a Satanist, a left-hand path Satanist, and a right-hand path Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, etc. Is the Satanist is apart from the social norm, apart from that which is considered normal. They are the scapegoat. They are not the sacrificial lamb. They are not the sacrificial goat. That is the Christian. That is the Catholic. That is the Buddhist. That is the one that chooses to prostrate themselves before the Islamist. That is the person that chooses to prostrate themselves before superstition. The Satanist chooses to go into the desert where he will live. That is the difference. Whereas the Christian, the Islamist, the Buddhist, the Hindu, what have you, they are the sacrificial goat. Now, I am not a Satanist, but I'm explaining to you from my time as a Satanist what these cosmologies mean, how they intertie with one another, and Satanism is in fact philosophically cohesive if you actually understand the concepts that LaVey is expressing in the books. I think it could have been expressed better, and I think it could be more cohesive But I do think that it is a cohesive religion. I do think that it's a real religion. And I do think that it does not get the respect that it deserves. Especially because modern Satanism, like the Satanic Temple and the Church of Satan, liberalizing and going against the Church of Satan's law and order concepts and pro-life, Anton LaVey's law and order ideology and pro-life concepts and pro-masculine ideas. One of the things that Anton LaVey gets busted on by the homosexuals, he had stated, I'm trying to think of what book it was, I think it might have been, it's either Satan Speaks or The Devil's Notebook, where Anton LaVey was regularly accused of being a fascist or a communist or blah, blah, blah. But Anton LaVey, one of the things that he stated, I think it was actually the Satanic Rituals, he said, if being a fascist means that I want to live in a world where men look like men and behave like men, and women look like women and behave like women, then I'm a fascist. And this is in the 60s or 70s. This is not now. This is back in the day, when you could still say things like this. And for whatever reason now, you don't even know, nobody knows which bathroom they can use. So when people bash Satanism, one of the most important things I think that Anton LaVey says in the Satanic Bible is the Satanist loves labels, because if you don't have labels, you don't know anything. You need labels to understand things. And that's one of the problems. Like, I'm not into labels. I don't like labels, man. Why you gotta give me a label, man? Well, labels are important. Labels help you know what's what. Labels help you know peanut butter from almond butter, or peanut butter from sunflower seed butter, or what have you. Labels are important. Labels let you know the nutrition facts. Labels let you know what's going on. I am a man. So-and-so is a woman. You get what I'm saying? So labels are important. When you remove labels, you have chaos. And that's all for this video. Check the links in the description.